Who blinks first? ECOWAS maintains stand against Niger military junta, directs mobilization and deployment of standby force. Junta seemingly shrugs off threats of further sanctions with key appointments into cabinet positions. And back home, party members and experts scrutinize new ministers, urge them to hit the ground running. Also on political update today, infrastructural deficit in some states and the way out. We have a guest to discuss this and more. My name is Fisaya Ogunfui. Welcome. The ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government Thursday directed the immediate mobilization and deployment of a standby force to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. It was part of resolutions of the second extraordinary summit of the ECOWAS leaders under the chairmanship of Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu.
There is an unfinished business on the political situation in Nigeria. Leaders of the bloc are back in Abuja to pick up from where they left off. More so, that the security of the sub-region is also deeply involved. The resolutions from the first meeting here 10 days ago, including the one-week ultimatum, went unmet by the military junta. The emissaries for peace are back, but there appears to be more miseries. Against their demands, the ousted elected president, Mohamed Bazoum, is still in captivity and the military remain in power. There was the need for stock taking.
It is essential to evaluate the effectiveness of our interventions and identify any gaps or challenges that may have hindered progress.
After hours of deliberations, ECOWAS appears not tired of exploring more diplomatic means, but this time with more vigor.
That no option is taken off the table, including the use of force as a last resort.
Direct the Committee of the Chief of Defense Staff to activate the ECOWAS standby force with all its elements immediately. Order the deployment of the ECOWAS standby force to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger.
Keeping President Bazoum as a hostage, I personally consider this as a terrorist act, and we cannot let this continue. We have to act.
While seeking the support of all partner countries and institutions, including the United Nations and African Union, it also clarifies that the resolutions are supported by all member states and not a case of one country against another.
Meanwhile, the 2023 African Bar Association has condemned the removal of the constitutional democracy in the Republic of Niger. This was part of the resolutions of the Continental Bar in Pretoria, South Africa.
Look at the observance of rule of law on the continent of Africa. Participants condemned the coup in Niger Republic and demanded immediate restoration of constitutional democracy. The African Bar Association Conference frowned at the ousting of democratically elected governments on the continent.
So I thank ECOWAS for the response. I do not support military intervention. The African Bar has made it clear today that it wants diplomacy to succeed and it wants the military to hand over, to leave the seat of government as quickly as possible and hand over to the democratically elected government. In short, our demand here today is that civilian rule be restored immediately.
The purported clampdown on the opposition leaders in Senegal also attracted the attention of the African Bar Association's conference. Participants frowned at the alleged disregard to the fundamental rights of the people. The Continental Bar cautioned that respect for the rule of law is the foundation of constitutional democracy.
As for Senegal, we have made it clear here too, the decision was reached here, that the Senegalese government should rethink its illegal actions.
The Continental Bar equally expressed its displeasure over the disobedience of court orders by government institutions. The bar identified the rule of law as the solution to the challenges being faced by the African continent.
And still talking security, but back home here in Nigeria, the House of Representatives has called for synergy among security agencies towards curbing the spate of kidnappings and banditry in the southeast of the country. This was part of a public hearing on the growing security challenges in parts of that region.
Crucial security committee hearing.
The mandate of this House of Reps ad hoc committee is to interface with relevant security agencies towards addressing escalating cases of kidnapping, assassination, and banditry in Abia State. The committee notes that non-state actors are having a field day crisscrossing the boundaries of Abia, Imo, Enugu, and Ebonyi states to perpetrate criminality, while calling for a united front to protect lives and property.
The non-state actors, when they come to commit crime, that specific focal area, they often disappear to the bordering communities of Ogo in Enugu, Isiago in Ebonyi, and Okigwe in Imo State. So it requires that we have a collaborative effort between the Nigerian Army, between the paramilitary agencies across those states to ensure that we nip this crisis in the bud.
The incidents of kidnapping in the southeast region witnessed a surge, particularly in the second quarter of this year. Recently, efforts of the Nigerian Army through 82 Division, in conjunction with other security agencies, has diminished the threat of kidnapping considerably.
Now, after the conclusion of the general elections earlier in the year, attention has now shifted to the states with the off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi in November. And Edo, as well as Ondo, in a year's time. The three states due in November are already in full swing of election frenzy, but the ones to come in a year have equally begun to serve some drama. I'm talking about Edo State. Political bigwigs have started switching alliances, with some even alleging intimidation so early in the game. We hope to get in the course of the program Daniel Egongon, Akwemohan Matthews, and Edo State Labour Party governorship aspirant. Hopefully it will join us in the course of the program. But moving on very quickly, the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has commenced a reconciliation process with aggrieved leaders and members of the party in Kogi State. The effort is to ensure unity within the party ahead of the November 11 governorship election in that state.
It's a meeting of PDP officials
to hinge on that reconciliation before the election.
The meeting was attended by the PDP governorship candidate for Kogi State, Senator Dino Melaye, the PDP state chairman Sam Hotu, as well as other party faithful in the state.
Earlier in the week, the Senate announced that it had fully screened 45 out of the 48 ministerial nominees forwarded to it by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But party members and experts in different sectors say the ministers must hit the ground running. Dominic Alancha, an APC chieftain, was in our studio in the course of the week.
You cannot fault them because we believe that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is somebody with a gag, with the capacity to identify competent persons, that will pilot the affairs, of this country. He has done it when he was in Lagos, where he, fetched out or fished out, talents that help him in piloting the affairs of Lagos State. Lagos is what it is today, not because of him alone, but because of the team he has, he was able to put in place in Lagos. So we are trusting God, and we are believing that these ministers that have already been nominated, they will not disappoint. They will prove their capacity. They will not disappoint Mr. President, and they will not disappoint Nigerians. If you look at the list also, you will agree with me that certain expectations were met in terms of mainstreaming young people into, the leadership positions, bringing young people into his government. In terms of women, at least for the women, a little below, 30%, was met. So we trust that, and we are believing that going forward, in future, we'll be able to meet up the 35% affirmative, that, every, political party and government will always promise. And if you look at it from the political angle, also from the party angle, most of them were, they have the capacity. But what I think is a bit lacking, in that list is the fact that that list should have accommodated, certain persons, that have been loyal to the party, that have been loyal to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that have, that have the political clout. Because if we are looking at 2027, because whether you like it or not, other political parties, the PDP, the Labour Party, even though they are still in court, the plan for 2027 has already begun. So we too, we should also put our house in order. You need certain persons with the political clout to be there.
And still on the screen, Ministers, APC stalwart Anas Abdullahi Kaure says the seasoned technocrats, administrators, sound legal and scientific minds in President Tinubu's cabinet have the ability to help turn things around to achieve better results as a nation.
I am here specifically to extend my gratitude to President Ahmed Bola Tinubu for nominating Dr. Bello Muhammad Matola Marado, my political mentor, to be among his ministers in this country. May Allah protect the president of this country and guide him.
All right, let's go quickly back to security issues that we promoted earlier in the program. The Office of the National Security Advisor in the course of the week commenced policy planning and strategy development for a holistic approach to the ongoing disarmament, demobilization and reintegration program for countering violent extremism in Nigeria. Let's take that report.
Threat to violent extremism is a global occurrence undermining communities, fundamental human rights, and national security. In realization of the complex nature of the security challenge, the federal government, in addition to military combat operations, adopted a program for preventing and countering violent extremism.
Our approach to violent extremism must be rooted in our collaborative efforts and in the principle of whole-of-society approach to addressing issues including countering the ideological extremist group, building trust and community resilience at the grassroots level.
This platform is to equip delegates with strategic insight and review existing national and state disarmament, disengagement, and reintegration programs for preventing and countering violent extremism frameworks with focus on the policy, legal, and operational requirements for establishing a national approach.
Our DDL efforts need to be reconfigured in policies, tools, and practices to address the diversity demonstrated by different state armed groups in the country.
Because of political will, we can see that we now have over 120 returnees. And because we have political will on the part of the federal government also, every state is now encouraged to carry out a kind of PCV activities in all their MTAs.
So far, the program is increasing the level of awareness on the benefits of non-kinetic approach to fighting terrorism.
Nigeria and other West African countries continue to explore all options necessary to provide solutions to the face-off in Niamey. There's another quest to resolve issues, this time boundary disputes with our neighbor to the east, talking about Cameroon. And the House of Representatives has assured that anyone found culpable has assured that they would get to the bottom of the matter in terms of the landmarks between Nigeria and Cameroon in Calabar. Let's take that report and then we'll be back.
The International Court of Justice ruling of 10th October 2002 ceding Bakassi to Cameroon mandated the retracing of Cameroon-Nigeria international boundary line from Lake Chad region to Atlantic Ocean. However, Biajua and Danare communities in Boki local government area are alleging that a joint technical team mandated to handle the aforementioned task has failed to trace Pillar 113A, which is critical for proper demarcation.
The joint technical team is planning to use coercive measures to create new boundary line, regardless of the irrefutable evidence before them.
We wish to state without equivocation that Biafra is a Nigerian community at the border of the two countries. We shall not and will not oppose the retracing through demarcation of the international boundary if the exercise is properly carried out as law-abiding citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but we shall resist any attempt to place a pillar where none exists.
Based on a motion of urgent public interest raised by the Cross River State Caucus in the House of Representatives, the Ad Hoc Committee on International Boundary Disputes is in Cross River State to interface with stakeholders in a bid to find a permanent solution to the boundary problem.
Your positions have been noted and deliberations will be made on every single memorandum. But we'll go back to Abuja, deliberate further, and ensure we come up with a position that is in the best interest of Nigeria.
The Cross River State government promised to give the committee the needed support to actualize its task.
I want to believe that the stakeholders of Boki and particularly the areas affected will do the committee a whole lot by furnishing them with the necessary information to help them get at the truth and the right thing to be done.
The two communities are sending a save our soul message to the National Assembly to prevent them from losing their identity, farmlands, and rich forest reserve.
So let's do a quick review of some of the stories we've taken in the course of the bulletin. Of course, the ECOWAS summit ended on Thursday with a resolution to explore all the options on the table, with, of course, military force not being ruled out. And that step by the junta to remain on its stand has also been condemned by the African Bar Association, currently holding its Congress in Pretoria, South Africa. Governors of Southeast states have come out with a resolution to partner with the federal government to combat insecurity in the region. This was part of a communique raised after a closed-door meeting at Government House, Enugu. We also said that the House of Representatives has called for synergy among security agencies towards curbing the spate of kidnappings and banditry in the southeast of the country. It was part of a public hearing on the growing security challenges in that part of the country. Now talking about what will happen in November in what a lot of people have called the big elections, that is Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi off-cycle elections on the 11th of September. And parties are recalibrating, and we have seen some cross-carpeting, some reworking of alliances towards getting to the government houses of those states. But for a party, it is time to actually shed some weight. It has the New Nigeria People's Party has expelled, I beg your pardon, 2 party chairmen for anti-party activities. Let's take that story before we close.
New Nigeria People's Party has been undergoing some internal restructuring as fallout of the 2023 general elections. The party is concerned about the poor outing it showed in some states and working around the clock to reposition for future elections. In order to achieve this, the NWC is wielding the big stick, and the immediate fallout is suspension of some leaders who sold out in the general election and outright dismissal of those whose cases are beyond redemption.
The Ogun State chairman, in the name of Ogini Olafosi, and in Delta, F.A. Tofo. So they have all gone. All these that has happened in our party was actually led by these two chairmen, which to our own thinking, to our own observation, legally, they are not even members of our party.
The party is also working round the clock to pull surprises in the forthcoming governorship elections in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states.
That's the package today. Unfortunately, we were not able to link up with Daniel Legongo Ahwemeha Matthews, the Edo State Labour Party governorship aspirant. We're hopeful to bring him hopefully in our subsequent programs, hopefully next week. That has been the size of the program. Keep it locked on our political update. We will be giving you sectoral analysis and expectations as the ministers take their portfolio in due course. And we'll also be having an eye on the off-cycle elections in November, looking at the contestants and the pathway to the government houses in those three states, talking about Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. My name is Fisal Ogunfe, thanking you for being a part of Political Update for today, urging you to play your politics for the greater good and keep it locked with the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest and finest, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Enjoy your weekend.